Okay, so we're going to begin today, you said, by choosing
Our feeling.
our feelings. We're going to name our feelings. And we have little companions to help us understand our feelings.
Yes, these are called little kimochis. Kimochis are the Japanese word for feelings or emotions. And there's a face on them and there's a word on it. So I have a whole basket here, Grace. I already chose mine because, I do pre-work. I have sleepy, and then you'll see that it's yawning.
Can I choose multiple ones?
Of course, we could have different feelings at the same time. I have sleepy. What do you have? This is blank too. You can write your own and draw your own. But I don't have any fabric markers today.
I'm going to choose them.
Sure.
We're going to name all the feelings.
You can have all the feelings, and all our feelings are valid.
Grace has a lot of...
Just so you know. So this is how we start all of our session. Because the feelings need to be held, or there's not enough space to hold other things. And these really help because sometimes we don't know. We don't know what we're feeling, but then if we see a word grateful, we see a face, maybe that's how we feel.
Yeah, I feel
You picked a lot. Want to share?
Oh, man.
Come on.
Okay, I'm being vulnerable right now. This is sad. This sadness. I feel sad. I've had to let go of a lot of relationships and people and things recently. And a cat that I was taking care of for 3 weeks has liver cancer, and they just found out. So they have to put her down. And she was an emotional service animal, so she kept me comfortable, especially when I was really sad. She could sense. It was like, obviously the tears start running, and she would just like cuddle with me. And I asked the owner was like, it's a emotional service animal, and she would just like low on top of me every night when I was sleeping. I'm still allergic to cats. That's the funny thing. So I would take an allergy pill and then put the covers up to my face like this. And then she would loaf on top of me, and she would have her little nose like about to kiss me. I'm like, I can't kiss you. But she would like, it was as if she was protecting me all night. She would stay up all night. And then if I had to swat her away because I was getting too hot because she was just loafing on top of me, she would just like sleep on the side of me every single day. And so it was 2 weeks ago that I gave her back, and we noticed that she wasn't eating her regular routine of food. And she was also eating really little when I was there. I was kind of reporting, I'm not sure if she's eating enough, but they found that there was a mass on her lungs and her stomach, and they're gonna put her down. So little Dio. So I'm sad. I'm really sad. And
Thank you for sharing.
It's like talk about being in a space of being safe for grief. I do feel loved. I've really seen in tiny ways my friends, my colleagues, my family have really risen to the occasion to take care of me in small ways. And with the loss of certain friendships and with the loss of certain relationships, which has been so hard, the other people have, in their kindness, I don't know, look out for me, just like, what can you eat? Are being gluten-free and dietary-free, like, where can we go to accommodate your needs? Or what do you need today? Do you need help? And so I think with people around me who have that awareness to look out for me, I feel loved.
It's important.
Like Rebecca made me some food or brought me some food, and I felt that was very sweet.
That's gluten-free.
That's
Unfortunately not sesame oil free.
It's There are too many things to kind of.
I didn't know.
I
Now
feel
I know.
shy being on the podcast.
Which is so funny.
I mean, as much as I am a performer and I'm used to being on camera or used to being on stage, it doesn't I can't avoid the fact that I'm still shy about it,
Yeah.
as if I'm just exposing myself to the world.
Does it help if someone calls action?
No, I think some people really do have an alter ego that comes on fully, and I think actors and actresses have the ability to put on a character, and if you're fully immersed in the world of the character, always helps when you have set design and you have beautiful trees around you, or you're in an exotic place and then you embody a character. I think it helps for you to feel comfortable and immersed, but I don't necessarily have that. And I want to be authentic in myself and portray that same exact person outwardly.
Mhm.
But to do that is very vulnerable of showing this is who I truly am. And so I'm shy about it. I'm uncomfortable because I started a new job and there are a lot of things that I'm not quite good at yet, but I'm slowly learning and being gracious with myself.
What's that uncomfortable face look like? I want to see. Can everybody see? It looks like this.
It's a crunchy. You matched it perfectly. It's uncomfortable, safe.
It's a biting of a lip,
Oh man,
bottom lip.
I'm scared, and this is priceless.
So what's Grace's scared face look like?
I don't know. Yeah, I think.
Like deer in headlights?
Yeah. People know when I'm confused because I can't hide it. So I think I look like this, or like I don't know, stunned, or Yes. I am scared because I am probably in the most unpredictable time of my life where a lot of things I thought should have worked out have not worked out. And at the same time, I'm listening and I am, because I'm a religious person, I'm praying about it and being open to new possibilities in the uncertainty, which I think is also a sign of growth, but it doesn't take away the fact that there's some fear of the unknown and what I have very little that I'm able to control at the moment, but I'm also receptive to what's happening. So I'm a little bit more embodied to react and interact in the way that is probably healthier. But I've never done it like that. So I feel uncomfortable and scared. And I'm sleepy.
That's okay.
I just need more rest. And I'm mad at myself and people for the hurt that I've caused, but the hurt that I've also received and the unresolution. There's enough closure, but there's not a ton of closure, and it. I'm not happy and proud of some of the choices that I've made. So I'm mad and I'm hurt because of the way that the choices that I've made for myself and vulnerability to be close with people. But I've also received a lot of pain and hurt that I'm learning to forgive and have compassion for, but also to admit that was not okay, even if you had good intentions while trying to execute that. And also, you're just not a healthy person and as well. So you didn't necessarily know how to act in healthy ways. So I'm still hurt and learning from it, or people have accused me of things that are not true. And so I feel a bit misunderstood as well. But that's the collection. The love one was the most positive one. I guess I do feel grateful for family and friends. The grateful face is that one.
I think it's closing its eye and going.
It's just like content looking. It's very content. Um, Yeah, that's where I'm at. We haven't talked about your feelings yet, have we?
No, we're holding space for yours.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. It could be all those feelings. You can take one out, add more in. It ebbs and flows, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think I'm a person who's very aware of my feelings, so I'm able to name all the feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And to see them as little companions is even greater. The mad face is actually very,
Is it accurate? You
it
think?
is. It's such a pout face that I can't get over because I probably am like that. Yeah. Apparently, I can be pretty intimidating when I'm angry, but I'm very but I hold it all in instead of fleshing it out, except when I'm really irritable and I start scratching or I start talking really fast or I start emotionally dumping, which I'm really learning to hold back on it. Emotionally dumping, but also being forward and honest about things.
So if I ever see you talking really fast on our podcast and scratching,
Yeah.
oh,
And my voice gets significantly louder as well. I project a lot.
okay. So three signs.
30 signs.
3 signs: scratching, speed of talk, and volume.
What if you were to catch me in the moment of that, how would you ask me a question or would you how would you respond?
It depends how intense and if it's directed at me.
Oh,
So
don't
I would
think
probably
do.
I would you don't know. You don't know
That's so true.
if I ever push any boundaries
Oh
or
dear.
press any buttons
Oh no.
that unintentionally. I think I would probably say, "Hey Grace, can we pause for a second?"
Mm,
And then if you're really mad, it depends what you're mad at. You might go, "Why are we pausing?" Or you might go, "Sure, what's up?" Or it'd be like, "Yeah, what's going on?" Like, "Well, I'm just noticing that, like we said before, those 3 signs are happening right now. You're talking louder. I noticed you're speeding up your speech and you're scratching a lot. Is there something happening?"
The
Or
scratching is probably the
or is
most
it
obvious
me?
sign
I'm not just
for me to
imagining
start
something.
doing this.
I just want us to be good. That's probably what I'll say.
Yeah.
Are we good? Or do we need to pause and just make it better? Or make it okay?
Yeah, I can see myself in that moment just knowing the way that interacts. Like, yeah, let's pause
Mm-hmm.
because I don't want to vulnerably show myself self to the world while I'm being angry, but also can I take a walk, go to the bathroom,
Take a break.
take a break,
Yeah.
come back to the table, and then I can have a calm conversation about it, or else I get defensive really quickly.
So knowing that, I
Mhm.
might pause and go, "Hey, let's take a break."
Yeah. That's probably
Instead of asking all these
a
questions.
good,
"Hey, Grace, let's take a break."
yeah, before I'm ready to talk about it. That's
Yeah.
actually really helpful.
Well, that's helpful to know.
Yes.
This has been a very eye-opening conversation.
Yeah, if I'm gonna be honest,
And you are.
anger is not something I've known how to feel for a good
Oh.
up until maybe last year. I started identifying. Yeah, I didn't know how to feel anger. I knew when I was irritable,
Mm-hmm.
but I would learn to bite my tongue, stuff it down,
Mm-hmm.
and it would come out sideways in other ways like avoidance or complaining to other people about the situation
Mm-hmm.
and sickness.
Mm-hmm.
And so, with the help of therapy, we work on reflecting on memories and identifying physical sensations.
Mm-hmm.
My throat gets tight. My
Being aware.
yes.
Mhm.
And some people need that like me. I wasn't very physically aware of myself except when my skin was exacerbated. And that one is when I would start realizing that I'm physical. I'm emotionally uncomfortable with something.
Because it's all connected, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have physiological reactions. Yeah, like when we get really nervous, we might sweat.
Right. Your
Right.
heart races a
Our
little
heart
bit.
races a little. Or like when you're scared of something, your head can hurt.
Yes.
When you're like in despair, your stomach can hurt. Like especially in kids who have a hard time articulating. Even with all these tools here, they have a hard time. They can have a hard time articulating what the emotion is or where that physiological sensation is coming from.
But
So
they might have a stomach ache.
they might have a stomach ache and go, but then you start thinking, is this something they ate? You rule that out. So you're just trying to like kind of like rule things out. Like, does someone hit you in the stomach? Did you have something that doesn't agree with it, allergic to? And if it's not all those things, you're like, oh, what's been happening? What
That's
happened
so
before?
aware. Or yeah, they might get sleepy or not want to participate in an activity anymore or start getting very quiet.
Yeah. Or feeling down, feeling disengaged, like you said, feeling disinterested or feeling annoyed. Because kids don't know that certain things are activating them.
No.
So like if like someone's doing something, a behavior that's annoying, some kids can go, that's really annoying, please stop it. Or some kids don't know why they're so annoyed when that thing keeps happening. And to be able to, one, say how you feel. Like, I feel annoyed when you click the pen.
Or culturally, you're not allowed to express that discomfort and to be forthcoming about it too.
Yes, like you have to, I was going to ask you the question why you have to swallow down your anger. Like, is it culturally inappropriate to be displeased? Is it culturally inappropriate to show any uncomfortable feeling because that's labeled as bad, not courteous, unkind, impolite,
No.
or not accepting?
Simona.
Yeah, yes, Simona.
Simona.
Or it's not considered appropriate because it's not
Ladylike.
proper.
Yeah.
Like it's not ladylike to
It's
scream your head off, but it might be ladylike to go, excuse me, I wish you would not talk. I don't know. So it could be like a mixture of things. And you also don't know, like for at least kids and even us adults who have kids inside, kid hearts inside of us, if we've been kind of programmed or raised in a way where certain feelings when they came out didn't have a positive reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can honestly say the ladylike, like the first thing I can hear in my brain is "細路女唔應該dot dot dot." Little girls should not dot dot dot. But also, there was always a scarier caretaker in the room. So my anger would be received with greater anger, which is a shame sort of thing that happens. And so I would be terrified of a angrier caretaker in the room or a more intimidating person.
Yeah, I can see that. And I think being like in May, which is AAPI month, and it's not that only in May do we recognize certain cultures, but it is like a time to maybe think about it some more or reflect on how our culture affects us daily, how culture affects our social emotional well-being, and how it affects really how we grieve, right? Because I think in the AAPI community, me being a part of that, I think all those three things were not really bolstered as priorities. Like feelings and sharing of feelings wasn't really highlighted as important as grades, as important as like family duty, as important as work.
Right.
And
Seeming practical matters of getting a task done and
or
passing
bringing tangible assets to the family. Or bringing tangible like income or revenue to the family.
Right.
Or to bolster your ability to earn later.
It's interesting because even if you weren't chastised for having big feelings.
Yeah.
They were neglected. The hope was that if we just avoid talking about it or we don't address it, she, he, whatever, will not feel those things in 10 minutes.
Yes. And I also think that it's also like a gratefulness sort of conversation.
Mm,
I mean, not just in like the AAPI community, but also immigrant communities, any community that has struggled,
yeah,
right?
risen out of
Risen out of
hardship
hardship, or
collectively, especially. Yeah.
yeah, so
Or
that
family wise. Yeah.
you don't deserve to
Yeah.
complain. You don't, that's not deserving of being sad. So like, I think mainstream we talk about, that's such a first world problem.
Mm,
Which it could be, but then again, I live in the first world, don't I? Don't we all? So are
yeah.
those complaints not valid? Is it the feeling of entitlement? Is
Yeah.
it the feeling of being spoiled?
Right.
And I
Right.
do believe, like, at least in the family culture I was brought up, that complaining, which could be stemmed from jealousy, it could be stemmed from feeling left out,
Hmm.
or complaining could be stemmed from disappointment,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's not always complaining because you're spoiled, but peeling away those layers isn't a practice, at least from the culture I grew up with.
Yeah.
It's the outward expression of whatever that feeling was. So as a child, I might be complaining like, well, I wish I can go to that too. On the inside, I might be feeling disappointed. I don't get to go. So I'm sad, right? But on the outside, it feels like I'm spoiled, or it feels like I'm ungrateful, or it feels like I never have enough.
Yeah. And
Which,
there's a whining tone that's coming out,
yes,
which sounds ungrateful.
yes. And I think like for the parents and the grandparents, emotional well-being was not a thing. And it wasn't a highlight.
Right.
Surviving was a
Right.
thing. Staying alive was a thing.
Right. Right.
Having food on the table was definitely a thing. So we're still learning. Even like SEL, the fact that it's an acronym, social emotional learning, in public education, in childhood development, that is a fairly new thing. It's not that we didn't know children had emotions, but we didn't think about them as much as we thought about other things around childhood development,
Right.
around taking care of kids,
Right.
until
Right.
fairly recently, that we would put it and require it into curriculum.
Just,
You seem pensive.
I am pensive. I'm always pensive. I'm a contemplative,
There's not
internal
pensive,
type.
but there is a blank one.
Oh,
You could write pensive.
pensive.
And then what would this face look like, Grace? My son would go like this.
That's pretty fun. Which one?
The little one.
Apparently, I have this pensive look where people see my eyes shoot to
This guy.
the sky, and I'm looking off in a distance and I'm imagining things in my mind. And then I just start rambling. So they lose eye
I'm learning
contact.
a lot about Grace
Yes,
today.
there's a lot to learn. I wanted to track back to, I've observed when, as a teacher, as a former TA in several settings, but also as an auntie, a sister to parents, when a child is feeling something, especially feeling left out, feeling something was unfair, maybe jealousy in a situation, feeling not chosen, or a toy was taken away from there, something wasn't fair, there wasn't a fair exchange. Often as the caretaker and the older adult in the room, we can see, for instance, there's another toy that's right next to you that's similar. Maybe it's a different color, but it functions the same. There are other choices and availabilities in the room, or we've already offered earlier in the day for you to do XYZ, which was really fun. So even though we're saying no in this moment, it's not that we never say no, right? But the child is very present to that exact moment when something doesn't feel comfortable, feels unfair, maybe arbitrarily there are these rules they can't make sense of why does my sister get this at this moment and I don't get that turn, right? With you having bigger vision, insight, and knowledge, intake, inventory, context, how do you not dismiss a feeling in the moment, but also give reasonable language, especially in the heat of the moment when you just want them to finish their dinner, when you just want them to get out the door and you're saying, I cannot stop for you this moment. We are late to XYZ. Like we're going to be late to school if we have this 10-minute conversation for you to calm down, blah, blah, blah. How do you approach that moment?
I think in a couple of different ways.
Yeah.
Depending on what's
Specific.
pressing.
Right. Got it.
So if getting to school on time is a must, meaning I have to get to the office or have a conference call or have a meeting that they have to get to school, then I would approach it one way. If there is some leeway, I personally also do not want to send them to school that way. I don't want to send them to school with this maybe heightened dysregulation, and they're not in a place to learn. They're not in a space to learn, nor are they in a space to detach. I don't know. I have to kind of see.
Or feeling safe in themselves and being safe around others and being safe for other people as well.
Yes. And so they're going to totally enter into school, which is its own community, right, from people that have no idea and no context to why they're feeling this way. So then they have to navigate a whole bunch of different scenarios, right? It could be a hold and wait. It could also be a hold and wait, depending on what it is. So those things have happened to me as a parent, as a mom of 2 children. What I tend to do is I get to their level, I either kneel down or squat down and be as objective as I can and not take sides of either one. So kind of like saying what I'm noticing. Like, hey, everyone, I'm noticing that we're having a hard time with sharing this toy right now. This is a really, really fun toy. The red one is the one that works the best, or is the one that makes the funnest sounds. I understand it's really fun to play with that right now, or right now it's time to get ready for school. It's not playtime. Fortunately, it's really hard to stop playtime. I know. And I know we both want the red toy, and the red toy's for home. So let me put the red toy in a safe space. And maybe while you're in school, if mommy has time, I can fix the other toy so you both can have the same toy to play with. So both are functioning well. Right now, we have to put this away and get ready for school. It may or may not work. And these are not, I think, formulaic, because our kids are not formulaic, and neither are we. So you're asking me in a position where I don't have the kids in front of me screaming me. So I can give you this answer. But I think the more that we practice this, just like as a first responder, the more we go into training, the more we practice and get certified in CPR and other things that first responders do, the more comfortable we are when that situation comes up. That comes in, right? So the more that I can even talk about what I might say, then in my mind, I'm at least a little bit more prepared the next time it happens. Sometimes I can't regulate myself because of their bickering or their arguing or their dysregulation.
There's so much conflict in the environment.
And it's so hard to regulate them until I'm regulated. So there is a term called co-regulation in taking care of children and teaching children that I like to adopt, because then everyone is trying to regulate and calm down as much as possible. So sometimes I say to my kids, hey, we have a lot of big feelings right now. All of us, including mommy. Let's take a deep breath. and see if we can calm down our feelings and regulate ourselves. And even if they don't want to, I start closing my eyes. I start talking. I start like mindfulness talking. Let's breathe in with our noses. I'm going to hold it for 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'm not regulated yet. I'm going to try again. And I'll do it again. So what they see is that I'm modeling what is good for me to regulate, and I can't force it on them.
Yeah, I think that's incredible because right before you talked about regulation, I was thinking in my brain, it takes a lot of internal agency to say, I want peace in an environment, but how do I not control, dismiss, minimize, or even people please and fall in to create this external sense of peace?
Yeah.
Because to sit with someone in a feeling, you might not have peace from the other person or in the circumstances, especially if you're outside in public or something and something happens, right?
Yeah.
Or in a classroom setting where there's so many other people and it's easy to go to shame and not feel it either because you don't want impending opinion on what's taking place.
Yeah.
But then you have to be able to foster that peace within yourself, right? And you just basically walked us through what co-regulation looks like. And not that it's easy.
No. It can look like that. It can also look like holding the child. And then they feel like, especially if the child's young enough, they feel your breath. And then eventually they mimic that breathing pattern. And they mimic the up and down, the up and down. But you know what it really takes is the adult in the room to have done the work and to continue doing the work to heal ourselves.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times I think what I found is I'm more activated by certain topics of bickering between my kids or arguments. And some of them don't bother me at all. And so I need to be very mindful and aware of myself. Like, how come this argument affects me more than that argument? Or how come this topic, when this happens, affects me more? Do I identify more as the younger sibling or do I identify more as the older sibling? What is happening there? So it takes like almost like constant awareness and repair. And we might not do it right. They might not want it. I've had one child tell me, "You're doing the breathing thing again. I hate the breathing thing. You always go in and out. In. I don't want to do it." I can't force the child to do it, right? And the other child is going, "Well, I love to do that, mommy." So what does it turn into? It turned into a competition. One was supposed to be co-regulating. So all I can do if I'm at my peak, right? And I'm not always at my peak, but I can do something. Like, okay, I hear you out. The breathing isn't working for you. It's working for mommy though. So if you give me some space, then mommy can regulate mommy, and then I can try to help people. So they don't have to do it. Then what might help you regulate? And we might not have all this time. And sometimes it's, instead of dismissing, it's just recognizing, okay, sweetie, it looks like you're really mad. It seems like you're really mad you don't get to play with this toy. And hun, it looks like you're not done playing with the toy and you both want the same toy. That's where the conflict is. We don't have time to resolve that conflict right now. I understand you really want to play with it. I understand you're not done. But right now, it's school time. We got to go to school.
Yeah.
And that's how we take care of ourselves.
So, yeah, and there's a level of just practical objectives. Not that you've not knowing you not taking the time to co-regulate, address the feelings, be in the moment together. But if there's a boundary of time and a boundary of you just setting the prerogative, hey, we have other things we need to honor at this moment. And that is what you're saying with the prioritization. What is our main goal at this moment? Hmm.
And maybe there's not. Like if there's a need to table it, then I also think it's important that you tell the kids that so they don't go through the whole school day not knowing if this is ever going to be resolved by the time they get home. So it could be we don't have time to resolve that right now, even though I really want to, because school's going to start and it wouldn't be fair to
Yeah, that
the
could be
classroom and the teachers that
dissociated
were
the whole
late,
entire day.
right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But once you get home from school, after we have a snack, we're going to talk about it again.
And it's helpful because I imagine after school, you might not be holding that same uncomfortable energy.
Yeah.
You're
All of
not
us has had other
right,
stimulus.
right. And you're like cheery when you like pick them up, and so it gives them some relief to come home and have a snack
Yes.
and say, we're gonna talk about this, but you're in a way calmer place where they can like let out.
And they're in a way calmer space.
Yeah, that's so true.
And I think sometimes if you have the time and there isn't a time crunch, what I've done is also separate them. I go, hey, it looks like we're having a hard time playing together. So let's take some time where we play by ourselves. You go over here, you go over here, find something to play. And then I have time to regulate myself and now figure out who do I go to first to get the story. And I'm going to get both stories. And then come back and resolve it or talk about it and talk through. Yeah, come up with some solution. So what you learn, like in conflict resolution, is that compromises don't work, especially with kids, because someone needs to give up something.
Wow, really?
And if we look at it like a democratic system,
Yeah.
if you vote, there will always be someone who hates the winning vote because that's totally opposite what they wanted, right? So if we go to, let's vote where we get to go for a treat today. If you say ice cream and I say pie, what's the compromise? Okay, this time you get ice cream, next time you get pie. Sure, that's a compromise. But when's next time ever going to come? While you're enjoying ice cream, I'm here seething about no pie.
Right, because the moment is
What they
called
can, the only thing they can secure, right? The
Right,
moment
right.
is the only thing they can secure
Wow.
that's present.
they're the present.
So throughout the whole ice cream eating duration, the pie voter is in conflict with everyone else enjoying the ice cream. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So how do you create a resolution to the conflict where everyone does win? How do we do that? And that's really hard. I think the voting is a quick way to alleviate the problem. But just like we vote for anything, we vote for what's for dessert, we vote for what's for dinner, we vote for who's in office. There's a whole group of people who didn't vote for that person or didn't vote for that choice. And they're going to be upset for the duration of that choice, right? And that's how it works. But they're on constant conflict. There's constant tension. And within a family unit, that's not something you can handle and want because that tension comes out all the time. When it's like a public like opinion, like what are we going to paint the facade of the playground? The whole school committee gets to vote and then you just have to live with it. And then next time you vote on something, maybe your vote will win. Or you can campaign for your vote so other people can be swayed, right? But in a family, you don't have all that time to campaign. You don't have all that time.
There's no buffer.
There's no buffer. So coming up with a resolution that helps both people win requires knowing what their needs are. What are your needs and what are your desires? Do we even understand those things?
So you're suggesting, for instance, with the pie and ice cream scenario, if you
Yeah.
can find a place that has both pie and ice cream.
Maybe. Or is it because you want something cold? Is that because you want ice cream because it's cold? And is it because you want pie because it's warm? Like figure out what the needs are and what the desires are. Because it might not be what you think. Because kids don't know what all the options in the world are. It could be, well, I want ice cream because I like chocolate.
Yeah.
And I only know that
Right.
the only chocolate dessert is ice cream.
Right.
But that's not true. There's also chocolate pie. But they might not have ever had chocolate pie or had it with you. So if you kind of figure out some of those things, just like when they're like kind of like fighting over the same toy, unless we take the time to figure out why they're fighting, well, it's because, yeah, there is a red one and there is a green one, but the green one always runs out of battery. So as the adult, it might feel like it's the same exact toy, just a different color, totally same function. It might not be. It might be, well, the red one is the one that keeps working and it doesn't break. The other one, I have to keep changing the batteries and it's not as fast.
Okay, so culturally,
Mhm.
I think there's an expectation to learn how to sacrifice.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you
That's the epitome of family duty. How much you sacrifice for the
Right,
family.
right. Especially if you're the oldest child,
Yes.
you feel like you always have to sacrifice, right? And
Yes.
say,
In Cantonese, you call it yearn. Yearn, like, daga
yeah.
yearn gasaige. So the older
Oh,
one
hi.
give up for the younger one. So if you're always the older one, you're constantly yearngan. You're constantly giving up. You're constantly letting them have it. So basically, you're constantly having your needs unmet. One, you're constantly being told your needs don't matter as much as the other kids. And third, you're required to dismiss your needs anyway, no matter what. It's very hard for an older kid in that kind of culture.
Do you think there is a necessary space to teach the importance of sacrifice? Because it inevitably has to happen.
Yes.
And if you don't learn it young, there is a sense of, I can have it all entitlement when you grow older. You just expect everything to come to you, or not that there's a zero-sum game, like scarcity mindset that has to go through, but you learn. I wonder if there's a way to offer sacrifice as a noble thing without forcing someone to do it, but also how do you become creative in a certain circumstance, especially when you're getting older, maybe when you're really young, pre 7-year-old, you might not register what it is you're sacrificing or why, or if it's a good act or not. It's just the fact that you have to do it as things. Right? But after that, when you're in like your preteen phase, right? Having that negotiation of, okay, you're a creative individual. Can we come up with something that you love that is an alternative from these like binary options that you have? And someone has to, you're accommodating someone.
Yeah.
To have their win for the moment.
Yeah.
Is there space to teach something like that? Or is it just, we've had this misconception that compromise, as we call it, is effective when really it's not really how we should keep going with conflict resolution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it depends. Again, it's always the answer. It depends. Because I was taught about sacrifice when I was young.
Yeah.
But also, if we're talking about culturally, you have a sea of immigrants coming into this country.
Yeah.
So you have lots of people who are straddling two cultures.
Yeah.
Or more.
Right.
So the culture that you learn if you're educated here, especially when young in the American society, is the individual is more important than the group. Like,
yeah.
My feelings matter. My needs matter. My story matters.
Right.
You might come from a culture that's more collectivistic, where actually the group's well-being is more important than your individual.
Yes, absolutely.
So you have this greater than, less than, and once you cross the threshold of the door to your home, you switch it off, right? So in school, individual rights matter a lot. But you are in a collective setting of a classroom in a school, right? There's certain parameters you have to follow. But once you get into home, maybe you live in a home where the collective always matters more than you. It's like, well, I know you want this, but for the well-being of the entire family, we have to go here.
Yeah.
So you're just going to have to sacrifice that, right?
Yeah.
So I think there is totally a difference and there's totally nuance in between, especially if you're straddling, because what you're learning at home is not what you're learning in school. But there are many families where what they learn at home is also what is valued in school.
Yeah, it makes it so much easier.
It makes it easier because the
There's a
playing field is
streamline,
level.
right?
It's aligned, right?
It's aligned.
But when there's no alignment, I think is where that conflict is, right? Where there are some households, it's like, oh, well, you want to wear those shoes to the family gathering? Grandma's not going to like that. It's going to look improper and she's going to be really upset. You have some families going, well, grandma could be upset. You're not responsible for her upsetness.
Yeah.
Do what makes you feel comfortable.
Oh my gosh, I can remember it. It's like in the Chinese family duty space, it's like offer her a gift or try to appease her somehow, right? Or like dumb top, right? Or pour the tea or make sure she gets the first piece of
Yes.
the table dinner, you know, like make sure you place it on her plate, that kind of thing. Or
well, the elders are always priority. Like
right.
There's so much hierarchy, right?
Right.
That it's always not yourself.
Yes.
So yourself is always last.
Yes.
And then whereas in other contexts, yourself is always first.
Right.
So I think there totally is a way to teach about sacrifice in a way that still honors the individual and still honors the collective. And that is hard to kind of pinpoint, but like one way that we've done it and one way that I wished I learned it was that when you have to force it, it becomes this conflict and a power struggle, right? So if you have a kid who is straddling both cultures,
yeah,
they're struggling with, well, I've always been taught that my feelings matter. I've always been taught. And you might not have that same struggle if the kid was educated in the same system and culture as the caregivers and parents.
right.
And they live in a country where it's not so individualistic. So everyone, even their peers, are expected to sacrifice for their family.
Right.
And it's modeled, right?
Right. And the wild thing is that I've had to learn in therapy, American psychological spaces, this is codependency, right? Where you completely neglect your needs and abandon your own needs to service other people. But what you don't realize it isn't necessarily, as I've learned it, it's not necessarily true selflessness, because in a way, it can be a mechanism, one, to control your environment, to control it through people pleasing, manipulation, me not looking terrible, deflecting shame, those kinds of things. And sometimes when I re-enter all Asian American spaces, for instance, having been away from the flock for a little bit and returning, I've always been a part of the flock, but it's different when you're in a large community that is predominantly Chinese American or Asian American, rather than you have 2-3 people or in a multi-ethnic setting. It's you can confide in each other, or you kind of cater to the rest of the majority American dynamic, individualistic dynamic, which is also difficult in different ways. But having returned, it's this expectation of you do whatever it takes to like achieve a certain result as a unit. So if it means you have to stay late hours, you stay late hours. We all stay late hours. You know, if it means you don't get heard for months and your opinion doesn't really fully matter till later and is completely neglected, we all stomach that somehow, you know. And it is really hard to get those mixed messages. And then on the other side, it feels like everyone goes rogue when they can go rogue,
when they push too far.
Well, when there isn't a solution that is tenable in the real world that anyone's derived that accommodates everyone's opinion, right?
Yes.
Then it feels, or I've just had to separate from friendships where they only do something out of goodwill so that they receive praise or they receive acceptance and belonging. But when everyone in the group is wanting to be seen in that way and needs validation, then there's nothing really truly selfless about the giving portions of it, right? Because you have this transactional expectation of receiving something back. And I feel in social hierarchies at school, I was always in as a young child learning to please to be accepted.
Yeah.
And then I had to learn in whether it's by religion or just other spaces to one, not do that, but two, are you able to let go out of humility a certain result in this time and then trust that something is going to come back to you when it's your time, not because you demand it, but because in time things will come, like give me a second of that applies in. It can be true. Such as our makeshift life.
Is that just balancing there?
Yeah, I forgot the other perfect.
It's like, is that just balancing?
Yeah, and obviously, mm, yeah, there's cultural spaces when because this is AAPI month. Yeah, I don't think people share our consciousness all the time of straddling several cultural. I mean, even if you're not an immigrant, right? y- Many of us have to code switch one way or another. Say if you moved from the South in America and then you moved up north. Now, a lot of people have to grieve not being seen in some ways and
Yep.
re-entering, or you move from a different state, or you move from the country to the city.
Yep.
You're code switching all the time.
Yep.
And I know in the South there is a little bit more of a collectivistic mentality of elder
Yeah.
ownership.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, everyone kind of being in your business a little bit in the community or whatever.
Well, I found like in collectivistic communities, the boundaries are kind of gray. The boundaries of me as an individual and my family and my community, they're kind of gray. People come in and out and they know your business, they're part of your business because you're one whole unit, right? So as we're talking and as I'm thinking, and as I'm thinking of my parenting, my teaching, and how I wish I learned sacrifice, because I am a person that's quite dutiful, but I'm also a person that's very creative in my individuality. And I think that's also learned and practiced as an adult. I didn't learn this like from age 5, but here's what I'm thinking. I think as long as we have kids and caregivers who are educated and brought up in very different cultures, then there will always be kids that are straddling too, right? And generations later, that might be different. It might not be. I don't know. It might feel a little less abrasive, or the gap might close a bit. It might not feel so far apart, right? So like I'm thinking my kids. So when I become a grandma, if I do, then my understanding of their individuality will be different than say my grandma's understanding of my individuality, because I was raised here. I was raised in America with a lot of Chinese values, right? And I also speak both languages.
Yeah.
My children only understand Chinese. They don't speak a lot of that at home.
Right.
And they never were, our household was not ever completely in Chinese.
Yeah. Right.
But I grew up in a household that everybody spoke Chinese, right? So their kids, my potential grandkids, are likely going to learn English as their first language, no longer Chinese. Different from me, right? So the gap is closing because I can help my kid with their homework. I can also help my grandkid with their homework. My grandma was never able to do that. So already the dynamics of like home life is different.
Communication.
And I lived with my grandma. My kids now do not live with my parents. So already just the lifestyle has changed and is different, right?
Right.
And the space is different. But I wonder if we think about team spirit, which we talk a lot about in an individualistic culture because we play a lot of sports. That type of team spirit and group work
That's
has
really
to do
good.
with like what's good for the team. So if we think strategy, yes, on a sports team, maybe your objective is to win,
Yeah.
but you're going to win with glory, right? You're going to win without cheating. You're going to win with sportsmanship, and you're also going to win with strategy. So you're going to pick, if it's last quarter, right? 2 minutes left on the clock, and you have to make a few baskets to even tie the game in basketball. Who are you going to put up? And as a team, the coach, yeah, makes the choice of who goes. But as the team, you might need to sacrifice your spot so that that stronger shooter can make the 3-pointer.
Right. Or you have to be the one who volleys
Yes.
this person up. So you play a supportive role.
Yes.
So and it might feel like sacrifice, but it's also an honor or privilege to contribute in a different way.
Because in the end, it's a team win.
Right. It's a team win. That's really funny that you're saying that because my former boss was introducing Tony Dungy's book on sports coaching. And because I don't participate in organizational sports anymore. I guess like dance is sort of an organizational sport if you think about it. But and I it's been a long time since I've been on a volleyball team or something like that. And it's not part of my regular life. I'm not thinking of a sports team analogy a lot. But it does keep coming back often that is, I think in American culture, that is a context in which people understand sacrifice and understand we all contribute for a grander vision. And what it seems like is in church settings, in community settings, at family settings, friendship settings, it helps when there's combined value and vision in order for people to understand I'm not giving something arbitrarily for an indefinite amount of time.
Yes.
For no reason at all.
Yes.
It's to participate in something greater than ourselves.
Yes.
That will be rewarding and felt later on. Because I think it is hard to not have vision and to be required something that then why do people feel belonging? And yeah, I think that's.
Well, I mean, and even if you're not an athlete and a sports player, if you have a solid, healthy team, you know the rest of your teammates have your back. And that's so important, right? They have your back because when you're out in the field playing, you don't know what's going to happen. Sure, you're strategically talked about the play, but what if the other team has a counter play? You don't know, right? So you need to know and trust that everyone else has your back. And instead of the word sacrifice, I think to complement that word is the word support. So yes, you're sacrificing, let's say, video game time to go watch your brother play at his championship. But what if you look at it as you're supporting your brother in something he really cares about? Do you also want family members to support you in something you care about? You do, right? When the parents drive you to those places, yes, they're sacrificing time from doing other things, but they're actually showing support for something you care about, driving you to the league, driving you to the competition, driving you to the rehearsal for your musical, your play. All of that is support. And support, just as any other choice, always comes with sacrifice because we don't have infinite amounts of time. We don't have infinite amounts of resources. Every choice is a sacrifice, right? my spending time talking to you, your spending time talking to me. We sacrifice other things we could be doing. But if we don't look at it as sacrifice, we look at it as supporting each other, supporting the mission, supporting AAPI community, supporting whatever it is, then it feels a bit different, right? Because you have to give up something to get something. It's just in every culture. You give up something
Right.
to get something.
Right.
You pay something to
Right.
get something.
Right.
So I think if we look at it as support, and in order to support, everyone sacrifices something, then that maybe capital letter sacrifice doesn't feel so like drowning and burdensome.
Yeah.
But it is a very high value in Chinese culture, how much you sacrifice for your family.
Right. I think what you're expressing is almost, it's an ecosystem, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're contributing to an ecosystem,
Yeah.
and hopefully something symbiotic, synergistic is what I'm thinking. Obviously, if it's not a healthy ecosystem, then there's a lot of repair to be done and foundation to be done so that things take care of each other when it runs well and smoothly, like in some sort of system, whether mechanical system or organic cultural system of sorts. But it is true, it's that there is give and take, and I think it's just a part of life that we learn. I just think a lot about growing up and having been told you need to be humble. And being humble concretely looks like all sorts of different ways.
Yeah. Are you looking for a way to talk to your child or maybe a student about a recent death that's happened? Or maybe you and your family are facing a pretty difficult diagnosis. Or maybe your community is facing the loss of a very important person. And it's really hard sometimes to know what to say, what to do, and how to have these conversations, especially with young ones. Oftentimes, books can help. Children's book about grief and loss can be a natural way to open up the conversation. That's gentle, age-appropriate, and also approachable. Moving in Forever is such a book. It's written by me, Rebecca Wu, from personal experience. It's also written from a child's perspective, and it's a tender story about love, loss, and family. It offers understanding and support for every heart that grieves, no matter the age. In summary, it walks through two nephews who take care of their Aunt Kiri, who's terminally ill. And while there's lots of fun that opens up, and she's the coolest aunt in the world, Kiri is also very sick. In her last days, she wants to be surrounded by love. And that's what the two boys do. They take care of her and remember her in their hearts forever. A note to grown-ups is that children don't process death the same way adults do. So it's important to support their feelings appropriately as you read through the book. We have some resources to help on our webpage, movinginforever.com. You'll see some downloadable resources to help support your journey, and also a host of different workshops and seminars and classes that we have. If you keep scrolling down, you'll see a way to meet the author. You could bring me to your classroom, your libraries, and your community. We'll do story time and an art activity. There's also videos of our podcast interview with Dee Dee Jackson Foundation, a stop-motion animation by Bree Reeds, a popular YouTube storyteller, and a bilingual read-aloud that I do in Cantonese and English. And if you keep scrolling down, you'll see the story and pictures of the story behind the story. We hope that this resource helps in your process and in your journey. Okay, Grace, I have something to add to what you just said. I know, like, when we talk about team spirit, or even like as artists, when you're in a play together, when you're a performance together, when you do a collaborative art piece together, you are part of a team, right? Yeah. And your family is a team and it is a unit. And I wanted to say that I think our conversation has been from the perspective of the child, right? Or the younger one, the younger generation, who may be Asian American. But then there's the other perspective of the Asian without the American. right? They came from a different eastern part of the world. So from their point of view, we have to understand that it's very different from ours. So as much as we want we want the elders to understand us, do we understand the elders? Can we say we do? Can we say we don't? But I think we also can't deny that parenting norms, traditions, what we value and prioritize, they're not like in a vacuum without time and space in history. So like where the sacrifice value was very much touted, like from my grandma to my mom, all my grandma can talk about, I do wonder, is it because they lived in a time and space where there was a lot of strife? There was a lot of war. Like there was a lot to sacrifice, not just in motherhood. There's a lot to sacrifice. Your individual freedoms, maybe work, maybe your career choice, maybe your time, your body, those sacrifices to happen to all moms who become pregnant, but other sacrifices that happen that do deal with immigration, that deal with being a refugee, that deals with leaving physical threat, danger, bombs, weapons, enemies. So almost all of that trauma does shift by the way your brain works and does shift how you view the world after that trauma. So in light of that, I think right now, overall, we live in a much more peaceful environment than our predecessors, than our ancestors, where we have a lot of individual freedoms. We have a lot of access to medical health, medical care and health care. We have agency to vote, to have a voice, to know where to go. We speak the language. We're literate. We can hold jobs.
We have time to be philosophical.
We have time to have a podcast, Grace.
To talk about what is the true meaning of life and happiness.
Yes, versus I need this job because I'm hungry.
Right.
So I feel like as much as it is like touted how much you sacrifice, and in Cantonese it's like hey sound, but then there's also you want to hey sound with God's aid. You want to sacrifice with a value and worthiness. It's not sacrifice for the mere sake of sacrifice, right? Because that's very surface. You want to sacrifice knowing you are contributing, helping, investing into your family.
Yeah, it's an investment.
Right? You sacrifice because you know it's better for the whole. So it's voluntary because you're part of the whole group. Your identity comes from belonging in that group, right? And your pride also comes from that group. So when I think about my grandma and wearing like flip-flops, I'm like, okay, fine. I have my individuality and my own fashion sense. But in her mind, in her perspective, which I cannot change, flip-flops are not presentable. They are not a step forward in fashion. They are slippers. They look like you don't care. They look like you don't respect her. They look like you don't respect the event, that you can just go put on some socks and some shoes. So for that time being, can I sacrifice my individual expression through fashion and just wear something that respects the event,
right,
and shows her that I care? Just like how you would dress in certain attire for certain social events like weddings, right? Award ceremonies. Why do we have a dress code? Because we want to follow the code that helps bring honor to whoever and whatever. So there's a code to follow. And sometimes that's spoken, sometimes that's written, sometimes it's unspoken, and you ought to know. So what is that code for whatever you're attending, but also what is that code for your family, right? And when we are able to openly discuss and decipher and talk about what that code is and how it affects everybody, then we get to a point where I think on a team, family, sports, arts, whatever it is, when each member of the team feels supported, feels heard, it's also going to be a win for the team.
Yeah.
Because that individual suffering, when it comes to an extreme, you get burnt out or you go rogue. But yet, that individual expression. When it's the other extreme, then you feel entitled and maybe
Right.
spoiled. So how do we get to that balance and know how our own actions or inactions are affecting other people in our team?
Yeah, and that hopefully leads to ownership. I think some cultures being able to have the conversation and naming those values might not be easily had,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
right? And available or dismissed, or it might take years before you have a conversation because you're warming up people to a vocabulary. What does it mean? And you have to warm them up in a way that doesn't come off as offensive or defensive of yourself, or
Yeah.
why can't we do this because X, Y, Z, why aren't you enlightened, right? Which
Or
is how
the
I
other
felt it, right?
perspective is, why are you bringing this stuff into our hand?
Right. Or we didn't have issues until you brought it up. We
were perfectly fine.
yeah, we don't have high anxiety. We don't have depression. What is that? You're making it up. It's your new generation that's making it. Whatever. Right. There's no such thing as that. Oh, that's a whole other conversation. After naming feelings, there's no such thing as
Well,
da-da-da.
like the older generation didn't have these tools.
Right. They didn't. They didn't.
They had happy, mad, sad, maybe hungry.
Right. And I think it just sounds like if you don't have a place for that to happen, that leads to the hopeful result of we work as a team. This is how we work better as a team, as if we talk about it, right?
You somehow express, and you have to like think about pacing, right? Not everybody on your team and your family especially went through an audition or a tryout. Very different from a sports team, a competitive sports team. Very
Right.
different from
which is a sense of agency. I chose to be on this team, and I worked hard to be on the team and adopted into the team. Yeah.
Yep. And in a family, you
Don't get to choose.
don't get to choose
Yeah, I guess
for the most part.
the best thing you could do is learn to heal and regulate yourself in as much as you can and create a new culture in other spaces outside of the one that isn't. If it's family, you can't necessarily run away. I mean, you can separate, but I've often seen that there is a frustration that you can't change people that you're born and given. And so how do you learn these skills? How do you find hope that this is possible if it can't happen in that context? Is that you try creating it elsewhere or with your new kids that you're having in your home because you're thinking, well, I didn't have this when I was growing up, but you're having to raise your own kids and say, no, I will not bring that former thing back into our home. And let's try doing this different.
Right. Like it might not be that the value is bad. I might align with the value, which I do, but I might not align with the approach. Right. So
Yeah.
I highly value like family, truly. And I was raised in a certain way where I do honor and respect my elders, just by habit and by desire. And when I see other kids not doing that, it does piss me off. But it's not because like I had to do it so you do too. No, it really pisses me off because it shows that you're not honoring your lineage. You're not respecting the people before you. You're not respecting and recognizing the sacrifice.
Right.
And you're not willing to try.
Right.
And of course, it depends on your age and your development.
Right.
But also, I need to see, why am I pissed off? Right? So I don't want to, while I bring that value with parenting my kids, I wanted to do it in an approach where it kind of cultivates them the desire and the want, not just because mommy said so, not just because that's what Chinese people do, but because it matters. Yep. It's because it matters.
Right.
It matters.
There's a reason behind it.
And it's a reason that you're connected to.
Right. And you, I think that was one of the things that I brought into my teaching early on as a piano teacher was I didn't know why I was doing certain practices. It's just that you had to do it. And there was a lot of intimidation involved, and they would just say, it's for your good.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But I understand that my students understand more than that and just say, you don't see the value of doing scales right now. One day you'll see the value of being able to play or improvise pieces that just because you know scales.
Mm-hmm.
You know how they feel under your fingers. You know what each key feels like. You should know what each key feels like. And I trust that even if you don't get it right away, you can figure it out on your own.
Yeah. My kids like to say, trust, trust, trust. Like, trust the process. Trust. Trust, trust. So
I'm glad they know that language. I didn't grow up with that language.
I trust. Mommy, it's okay. Trust. You're so trust. Like, it'll be okay. I don't need 5 jackets because it's -2 degrees. Trust. And then we also have to know that just because I feel like my childhood could have been different because of XYZ, and I wished in my childhood there was 1, 2, 3. I have to be very cognizant that my childhood is not my child's.
Yeah.
That my child is a completely different being from me. And that I need to figure out what my child needs.
Right.
Not just implement what I believe
You're
I
not,
lacked.
Right. And you're not projecting onto your child.
Yes.
Like, so when, especially in a classroom where you're helping a family process grief.
Yeah.
There's no cookie cutter way to process that grief.
Yeah.
Maybe you have to process your grief, and then your child has a completely different experience of what that grief. And they don't have to be one and the same.
No.
And like we've said before, it's important where the facts are understood.
Yeah.
Okay, those things are, this happened at this time, this happened, that's different. But the experience of what happened could be vastly different.
Yes. Just like 2 children can have vastly different childhoods inside the same.
Yeah. And interact with the same parent.
Yep. Completely. But that's another conversation.
Yeah, that is enough.
With a lot of other.
So as we wrap up,
Mm-hmm.
what is something about being Asian American that you find unique and wonderful, and you can now say that with a lot of pride, despite all the very unique experiences that we still have? I feel we still have to process as a subculture, and even more nuanced within our separate Asian ethnic identities.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my Hong Kong American experience is not even the same as like my mainland Chinese American friends who they have some slightly different processing things, you know.
Yeah.
It's those things, but at the same time as a group, I think we understand things like filial piety and honor.
There are some values that overlap.
Right, overlap. But what circling back to the question is, what is something you're proud of in regards to our collective culture?
I think something I'm always proud about is, I think hospitality is a huge priority and the culture I grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
So not just hospitable to guests, but hospitable to everybody. So the welcoming, so like when you have an event, you always have food. You always
More than enough
you always
food.
have more than enough. You always dress the part because you want your guests and whoever you're welcoming to feel very important, to feel well taken care of.
Right. And they don't have to worry.
Yes. So the
when they
whole
start
like
regular.
hospitality is one thing, and we might think of like hotels and restaurants. But if we do think about hotels and restaurants, hospitality is really an act of service and an act of love and an act of kindness, right? It's really extending an open hand for you to come in to like our space. It's extending an open hand to welcome you into either our family, our space, our lives, our community. That's what it is. And I think within hospitality, to carry it out, you have to have a lot of respect. You have to have respect for who's coming in, regardless of how same or how different they are.
Yeah.
And I think when there's that respect, then it comes that understanding and support, and also expectation, right? So when I prepare for events, I make sure I have extra of everything. I have a plan B and a plan C so that everybody feels like I thought of them. That can feel like really high quality service. But to me, I feel like that's just hospitality. And I think across the board of the families that I've interacted with, the friends that I've made that are in the AAPI space, I think that is also Muslim. There is some tradition or some or something you do to show hospitality, from the point of the food that you prepare and the way you serve it and the way you lay it out, to like holding things with two hands, collecting things with two hands. Even all of that shows respect and hospitality. And I think I'm always proud of that. And I try to model that for my kids, because it's a way of showing that you care about your community, and it's a way of showing support whoever you're trying to welcome, friend or stranger or whomever. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I can think of several things, but I'm trying to paint it in a way that doesn't end up being an opposite negative value, the absence of something else. But I really do, I do appreciate our culture of acts of service as being an expression of love, because it's really, I know I'm never going to be hungry. You know, if
Because food isn't giving food and feeding you. It's a
feeding
choice.
and I'm never going to be homeless. I'm never going to be out on the street. I'm never going to, if I really needed help with something like moving or whatever, not, I know I can ask for it. It might not be done in a way where people are like giddy to help me out, but they also won't neglect you.
They have your back.
They have my back.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've been in communities where to your face they'll say a lot of things, a lot of pretty things, a lot of nice things, a lot of ideal flattering kind of things. But when it really comes to whether they really show up and have the integrity, it's not quite there. And it can be a very painful, lonely experience.
Yeah.
And that's also very hard. And so I think in Asian American spaces, it is You can't take that for granted. And sometimes I wish maybe there were a lot more kinder words or positive affirmations that I received growing up. But in a lot of other ways, I know that my parents afforded me the piano lessons, right? They took me back and forth to all my activities.
Mm-hmm.
They made sure I had enough to eat. And so, yeah, I think that's something so special. And I also know that when it comes to it, um, I think it's good to honor and respect people publicly, and I think it should happen more often, especially within the community, and not out of jealousy or using someone. But I also know that there's a value that I've learned a lot about if I need to humbly step aside to play a supportive role and not to necessarily be like acknowledged for it. That I know a lot of my Asian American friends understand that. And so talk about that sacrifice. It is I've seen it happen in very necessary moments or very like done well is what I'm trying to say. And so we don't have to be spotlight. And yet I also hope for the community that we do learn how to spotlight each other in healthy ways and say, no, this person receives recognition. And I hold this person to high regard and they deserve to be known for it.
Yeah. Again, it's like that balance. Like it's okay to receive praise.
Right. You don't have to be embarrassed about
you don't have to feel like you don't deserve it.
Right.
And that by getting praise and receiving it, that means you're not humble.
Yeah.
I think there's like that's like that it's almost like a Venn diagram that there could be both. It does intersect. It doesn't have to be either or. It could be both and. There we go again.
Happy AAPI month.
Happy AAPI month.
We have 1 month. We're all clumped into 1 month.
With that, I have to attend to my family duties.
We'll see you next time.